Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn relay show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, gathering around the virtual water cooler with me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, a little bit of TV, maybe even a little bit of sports now and again. And we've got, as always, a lot of stuff to cover today on this Friday, end of the week, guys. I hope you guys had a triumphant week where you dominated life and now go into a well-deserved resting weekend. So, with that out of the way, let's get on with the first stuff today. We know that one of the pictures coming out in the next couple of weeks, I believe it's coming out in the first week of November, is the new Queen biopic being starred in by Ramek. Anyway, I'm just going to try to start this again. Bohemian Rhapsody's coming out on November 2nd. And listen, they just gave their first projection numbers for it. It's looking like Bohemian Rhapsody is going to be aiming for a $30 million opening weekend. Now, you may think off the top of your head, that doesn't sound like all that much. And I guess in some ways, maybe it's not when you consider that, you know, we live in the superhero movie age and stuff like that, where movies are opening to $100 million, $200 million. But for Bohemian Rhapsody to open to $30 million is actually quite a triumph. As a matter of fact, if Bohemian Rhapsody, put this in context, if Bohemian Rhapsody opens to $30 million, it will make it the second largest opening weekend for a musical biopic in cinematic history. Now, if we look at some of the other films that kind of fall into this category, now Straight Outta Compton set the bar with $60.2 million. So that came out that blows everything else away by a mile. Straight Outta Compton is way ahead in the lead. Now, right now, the second place film is All Eyes on Me, which made $26.4 million. Now, unfortunately, that movie didn't do anything after its opening weekend. It only went on to make $44 million overall, so it really stumbled a lot, mostly due to poor reviews. But Bohemian Rhapsody, if it makes $30 million, it'll take the second spot. Then we've got Walk the Line that made $22.3 million. That movie actually ended up making a hell of a lot more than All Eyes on Me. And then in what will be in fifth place will be the Jamie Foxx film Ray that won Jamie Foxx his Academy Award, that took in $20 million. So should Bohemian Rhapsody actually open to 30, that's actually going to be quite impressive. And it's going to set a whole new mark, and it's going to readjust this top five of, the biggest musical biopics of all time. And look, I still believe this movie looks amazing. All right? I have loved the trailers for this thing. I love the feel that they give for the story. I love the sound of the music. It's very nostalgic for me. Now, the reviews that we've been hearing for it have been a little bit mixed. Some are saying they absolutely love it, like our friend Scott Mance. He loves the film. Some people are saying, the Rami Malek interpretation of Queen is great. He plays a great Freddie Mercury, but the movie is meh. So we're getting a little bit of mixed signals from it. I myself am still very excited for it. And again, if it comes in at that $30 million range, it's setting history again for itself. All right, let's talk about this next off the top. Last night, I was driving home and I found out, wait a minute, they're going to be dropping an Aladdin trailer during the football game tonight? I never would have thought they'd premiere it during a football game, but whatever. And sure enough, last night, the highly anticipated first trailer for the Aladdin film dropped. What did I think about it? Well, it wasn't even a teaser. It's what I call an announcement trailer. You guys have heard me use that phrase before. It really wasn't even a teaser. It was an announcement trailer. It was a trailer to announce to the world, hey everybody, this movie's coming. As a result, we didn't get to see Jafar, except, well, we do a little bit, but I'll talk about that in a second. We didn't get to see the genie. We didn't get to see Jasmine. We didn't get to see the carpet. There's a lot of stuff we didn't get to see. But they weren't intending for us to see anything just yet. It was just an announcement. But still, even with the announcement, we got some pretty cool shots. Like, for instance, seeing the Cave of Wonders, I thought was great. I thought it was awesome. Now, if you look down in front of the Cave of Wonders face there, you see the dude there standing with the staff and the unmistakable single big feather coming up from his hat. That's got to be Jafar. So I'm just thinking that has to be Jafar standing there. So I thought that was great. The voice of the Cave of Wonders was amazing. So I like the shot and the fact that the trailer opens with that Arabian Nights music. That was chilling to me. That kind of gave me some really good nostalgia chills hearing that. And then they've just a few notes of Friend Like Me was also really nice. Then we got into the cave. We got our first really good look at Aladdin himself, who is the title character. And I thought inside the cave, I thought the design inside the cave looked fantastic. I just thought the cave itself looked great. And then you've got the lamp sitting up there on its ledge. I love the design of the lamp. I like the look of Aladdin. So I like what I saw. But again, nothing to get too excited about. It was just an announcement. Now, I understood. There were a lot of people tweeting me last night saying, why didn't they show us Genie? Well, because it's an announcement. They're holding that back for now. So everybody take a breath. We still got a ways before this movie ever comes out, but we do get our first look at it and just with the musical notes. And I think, with the Cave of Wonders and inside the cave and stuff like that, and what it looks like Jafar's got the right staff and the single feather. It looks like they're going to try to stay pretty true to the animated version, which is an interesting choice for them to make on this. So I liked what I saw within the context of it just being an announcement trailer. Nothing to get too excited about, but for a little announcement, it got us all pretty excited. All right, let's go on to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? It's really simple. You guys pick them by emailing to me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Email me your topics and questions. And guys, make sure you put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, keep those emails to 90 words or less. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get to the first email question today. And the first email question today comes to us from Andrew, who writes, love the show. Thank you so much, Andrew. Watch it every day while at work. Do you believe it's possible Warner Brothers may focus on a new Justice League lineup based around Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Shazam if all movies perform well, minus Batman and Superman? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Andrew. And everybody wants to talk about what if all three of these movies do great? Well, that's a huge leap, but okay, let's play with that for a second. Honestly, here's the funny thing about your question. I was just talking with a buddy of mine about, the possibilities of a Justice League 2. Because right now, there are no plans on the table for any Justice League 2. There are just no plans for it. Right now, Warner Brothers doesn't even know what they're doing with Superman. They still don't know what they're doing with Batman. So there's a lot of stuff up in the air. So I'm going to say this. I do believe there is a possibility that Warner Brothers at some point could produce a new Justice League film that does not include Superman or Batman. Now, before you scream at me too much at your computer monitors, let me clarify here. I don't believe they should do a Justice League movie without Superman or Batman. Hell no. No. I don't think they should do a Justice League without Superman or Batman. No chance. No way. You shouldn't do that. But what they should do and what they will do are quite often two separate conversations. Those are often what you should do and what you will do are often two radically different topics. I do not believe they should do a Justice League without Superman and Batman, but will they? I actually think it's a possibility. Maybe not likely, but a possibility. Look, let's look at what we've got in front of us right now. Right now, we've got Warner Brothers spitting all over Superman. I mean, between the way they disrespected him in that Supergirl show, the way they kept him out of the marketing for Justice League, the fact that they still have no idea what they're doing with them. Look, it's pretty much clear Henry Cavill's done as Superman. And all that kind of stuff. They seem to be moving away, or at least putting no sense of urgency on any kind of a Batman project. So there's been that as well. It feels to me like Warner Brothers, with the fact that we've got a Shazam movie coming, an Aquaman, another Wonder Woman movie, granted, but we've got other projects in development as well that have nothing to do with Superman or Batman. It just seems to me that Warner Brothers is edging themselves away from Superman and Batman. And on one hand, if that's the case, and that's a huge if that's the case, there is an argument to be made for that. I mean, look, I say this all the time. The definition of insanity is repeating the same process over and over again and expecting different results, right? They've been trying this DCEU thing for a little while now, and they're not getting the results they want. Should they just continue on doing what they're doing? Well, only if you don't want any different results, because you can't just keep doing what you keep on doing and expect different results. That's the definition of insanity. So I could see the temptation to want to move your cinematic universe away from Batman and Superman. I get the rationale, I do. But I believe there are more compelling arguments to double down on Superman and Batman. Those always have been and always will be your strongest bullets in your gun. Those are always be your strongest bullets in your gun. And so I just don't understand. But look, seriously, when you look at the way Warner Brothers has been managing this thing, I will not be shocked. I will not be surprised, and neither should you, if at some point in 2019, we hear that, guys, we're aiming for a new Justice League in 2021, and it ain't going to have Superman and Batman. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying that's what they should do. But I do at this point, reading all the tea leaves, it seems like they could be heading in that direction. So we're just going to have to wait and see. What do you guys think about those two separate questions? Should they look at doing another Justice League without Superman and Batman? Then put that aside and go, do you think they could do a Justice League without Superman and Batman? I'd be curious to know your thoughts. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know what you guys have to say about that. All right, let's move on to email number 2. And the second email today comes to us from Curtis Lopez, who writes, where am I doing it? All right, there we are. The Hollywood Reporter has just broke that Ryan Coogler has signed on to return to Wakanda and write and direct Black Panther 2. Most of us know this was inevitable, but I'm still excited. Like me, let me know your thoughts and Wakanda forever. All right, so you guys will remember a little while ago, there was a little bit of buzz that Kevin Feige had mentioned, no, we haven't signed Ryan Coogler yet. We got to work a bunch of things out, which did open for the possibility that maybe Ryan Coogler doesn't come back to write and direct Black Panther 2. I mean, look, he did this amazing film, Creed. Creed is so good. And he decided not to come back to direct Creed 2. He's a producer on it, but he's not directing it. Intriguing. Therefore, there's a little bit of precedent. It was conceivable that Ryan Coogler may, for whatever reason, decided not to come back and direct Black Panther 2. We knew that Kevin Feige wanted Ryan Coogler to come back and direct it, but hey, Kevin Feige has gone with different directors at different times for different properties before. It wouldn't have been unprecedented either. But I think for the most part, we knew that they would probably get this worked out. And now, according to official reports, it's a done deal. Ryan Coogler is going to write and direct Black Panther 2. They're saying he's going to start writing it fairly soon, and they're going to be eyeing to go in production sometime in late 2019 or early 2020. So don't expect a new Black Panther movie until at least 2020. Or at least 2021, I should say. No Black Panther 2 till at least 2021. Not if they're going to go into production in 2020. So I just have a hard time believing they'd have anything ready to go by that point. And that's cool. That's fine. That's completely understandable. But again, it was really a kind of a little bit of a no-brainer that it's somehow, some way, some form or some fashion, they were going to get this worked out. Look, you cannot underestimate the results and the importance of that first Black Panther movie. All right? Look at it in context. Domestically speaking, all right, Black Panther is the number one, not Avengers, certainly not Justice League, not Infinity War, the number one box office film domestically, comic book movie of all time, or I should say superhero movie of all time, is not an Avengers movie, it's Black Panther. Black Panther made $700 million. Not far behind it, Avengers Infinity War with $678. Then Marvel's The Avengers, the original Avengers with $623 million. The Incredibles 2, that's why I specify it's a superhero. This is a superhero movie list, not a comic book movie list. Incredibles 2 at $607 million and The Dark Knight at $535 million. Now, just forget about the whole superhero aspect of it. Black Panther is one of the biggest box office hits domestically of all time, regardless of genre. Black Panther is the number 3 all-time domestic box office film, only behind the likes of Star Wars: The Force Awakens that made $936 million, a record that I don't think is going to be broken within the next 5 years. Avatar at $760 million, and then you got Black Panther there at $700 million. I mean, that is crazy. The 3rd biggest domestic film of all time, regardless of genre. That's nuts. That's a little bit of crazy. Like, seriously, wrap your heads around that. I mean, I think we all know when we think about Black Panther, we know, yeah, it's a big hit. It made tons of money. We all know that. But the number 1 domestic box office film of all time for the superhero genre, the number 3 domestic box office film of any genre in history. It's those types of numbers that really make you take a step back and reevaluate the importance and the impact that a movie like Black Panther had. Now, I don't believe Black Panther should be nominated for Best Picture. There are a lot of people out there talking about how Black Panther deserves to be nominated for Best Picture. I disagree. I like Black Panther a lot. You guys seen me review it. You guys know how much I love this movie. I love the movie, but I do not believe it is a Best Picture worthy movie. But you cannot deny the impact it has had, its place in history, and the sheer magnitude of the success of this film. All that stuff put together should have let us know that, yes, even though Ryan Coogler didn't come back to direct Creed 2, and yes, Kevin Feige has switched directors before, and yes, you could do a Black Panther 2 with a different director. Absolutely you could. But the smart money was bringing Ryan Coogler back. That's what Ryan Coogler knew. That's what Kevin Feige knew, and they got it done. Now we just got to wait till 2021. Now, Ryan Coogler's got a couple of other projects on the go. He's producing a couple. He's directing a new film with Michael B. Jordan about the school cheating controversy and all that kind of stuff. So he's got that he's got to do first. But it looks like 2021 is where we're probably going to get our Black Panther 2. All right, let's move on to the final email of the day. And the final email today comes to us from Vishal, who writes, "Greetings, John. Have you heard that the Hollywood Reporter is reporting that Scarlett Johansson will get a $15 million payday for the Black Widow movie? What are your thoughts on this? And is this confirmation that Marvel is making a Widow movie? I personally love the fact that she'll get paid the same amount as Chris Evans and Hemsworth. Thanks, and bring on the filthy." All right, thanks a lot for the email, Vishal. And yeah, so the report's going around right now. We've known for a while that Marvel is eyeing doing a Black Widow movie. We know they've attached a director. We know they've attached screenwriters. And it seems like now, according to reports, they have worked out financial agreements with Scarlett Johansson to play in the movie to the tune of $15 million. Let's address the one question first about, does this confirm they're doing the movie? No. No, it doesn't. I mean, look, smart money says they're going to make this movie, sure. But as of right now, it's not official. Many times, you attach your director, your screenwriter, you get the arrangements with your stars worked out, blah, blah, blah. All that is done in place because that will be a part of the decision-making process for Disney and Marvel to give the official green light on it. They're developing it, and it will most likely happen. But as of right now, no, it's not official confirmation that the movie's happening. They're just getting all their ducks in a row. They're just getting everything in line, everything organized, so that when they want to greenlight this film, everything's ready to go. So there's that. What do I think about Scarlett Johansson getting $15 million? Or as somebody on Twitter asked me, does Scarlett Johansson deserve $15 million for a movie? Let me answer that question in 2 ways, all right? In way number 1, hell no, she does not deserve $15 million to star in a Black Widow movie because no frickin' actor deserves $15 million. I'm sorry. You guys know this is my opinion on this. Actors deserve to be well compensated. Actors deserve their respect and their due, and they deserve to make a really great living. No actor deserves $15 million. I'm sorry. Unless you've got the word doctor in front of your name and you're performing emergency spinal surgery on some dude saving their life, you don't deserve $15 million. You didn't write the movie. You didn't direct the movie. You didn't come up with the IP. You just stood on camera and did a very, very difficult job of acting it out. No, I do not believe actors deserve $15 million. Not when firefighters don't make 1/100th of that and they save people's lives. I do not believe actors deserve $15 million. No. No. It's ridiculous. Absolutely freaking ridiculous. And we wonder why the cost of movie tickets costs so much, because they keep paying more and more to make these movies, and they got to pass on the expense to you. So don't tell me that actors deserve to be paid $15 million and then whine and complain about the price of movie tickets. You don't get to do both. Anyway, with that being said, that's on the one hand. Do I deserve Scarlett Johansson? Do I believe Scarlett Johansson deserves to make $15 million? No, because I believe no actor deserves to make $15 million. I believe they deserve to be well compensated, but $15 million is ridiculous. Anyway, let me give you my second answer to that question. Does she deserve to get paid $15 million in today's current environment? And the answer to that is hell yes. Look, Chris Hemsworth got paid $15 million for doing Thor Ragnarok. Chris Evans got paid $15 million for doing Captain America Civil War. And are you going to tell me that Scarlett Johansson isn't as big of a name or isn't as big of a draw as a Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth? Damn right she is. So in the terms of context, hell, if you're going to pay Hemsworth $15 million for a standalone film, and sorry, yes, technically, Captain America Civil War is a standalone film, despite the fact that it was Avengers 2.5. If you're going to give Evans $15 million, then yes, you got to give Scarlett Johansson $15 million. There is no way you could possibly justify not giving Scarlett Johansson $15 million, at least. If you're paying Evans $15 million for a standalone movie, and if you're paying Hemsworth $15 million for an established standalone movie. You cannot justify giving Scarlett Johansson any less. You can't make a rational argument that she's not an important character. Of course she's an important character. She's not as much of a draw. Of course she's as much of a draw. She's not as big of a name. You're damn right she's as big of a name. Look, Disney was just in a position here where you could not possibly justify not giving her that much. So look, overall, I don't believe any actor deserves $15 million for doing 4 months' work. Okay? I don't believe any actor deserves that. Deserve to be well paid, deserve to be well compensated, but $15 million is freaking ridiculous. But that being said, in the context of the current environment and understanding what other actors in the same franchise that she's in are getting paid, you got to pay her at least that much. You have to. So, yes, understanding the current context, I'm perfectly fine with Scarlett Johansson getting $15 million for the movie. Now, will this movie move ahead? I think the smart money says yes, they're going to make this movie at some point. It's not greenlit yet, but they're going to make it at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an announcement before Avengers 4. I think before Avengers 4 comes out, which is not that long away, I believe we will get an official announcement that the Black Widow movie is greenlit and is moving ahead, and we'll get a release date, and we'll see where we go from there. All right, guys, that will do it for the emailed in questions today. Now let's take a little bit of time and go over and take some live questions from you guys. You guys have been sending in some questions, so let's get to those right now. The first live question today comes to us from Taki75, who writes, Venom, flawed but fun, very much like Suicide Squad. Yeah, I think it's a little bit better than Suicide Squad. But I think that's a good analogy. Suicide Squad to me was a flawed film. I describe it as a hot mess, but there was enough elements in there that were fun and made me smile and enjoy myself that I walked out of the theater going, I had a good time. I did. And I think Venom is very much in the same vein, although I think Venom's a little bit better, you know. Taki also follows up with, Michelle Williams was sexy as hell in that scene. Yes, well, first of all, Michelle Williams is always sexy as hell. I think that woman is dynamite. Not just from her physical appearance, but the way she carries herself, that confidence, that strength she carries herself just accentuates how sexy this woman is. I mean, seriously, just the way her talent level, her confidence, her swagger almost, to me is what just makes her sexy. And yes, that scene, sexy as hell for sure. Unbeatable writes, my daughter and I have binged all of Supernatural for the past 2 months. Good on you, man. Now we have to wait every week like Neanderthals. And you know what? Here's the funny thing, Unbeatable. First of all, good on you for getting caught up on Supernatural. I honestly feel the same way. Like I get onto a show late. So a show will already be in its third season or something like that. It's like, okay, so I get onto the show and I binge for a couple of weeks, and then it's like, oh, now I can only watch one episode a week? What? Is this the Dark Ages? That's kind of what I feel like. But guess what? More and more, like Netflix even, I think Netflix is going to start moving towards that over the next year or two. I think, because Netflix puts out a season of television and they drop the entire season at once, right? I think in the next year or two, Netflix is going to start moving away from that and start releasing one episode at a time. And I think we might have talked about this the other day, but one of the reasons is you get no word of mouth buzz when you drop an entire season at once. Because what happens with a lot of TV shows that are great, the first episode drops and everybody buzzes. Then the second one, and it builds momentum. Then the third one drops a week later. Then the fourth one drops. And it creates this snowball effect of buzz and enthusiasm. And then people jump on board, right, as you go. And as long as that season's going for 3 or 4 months, people are buzzing and talking about it for months. Let's put it this way. Iron Fist Season 2 dropped the entire thing at once, and everybody talked about it for a couple of days, and that was it. Nobody was talking about it anymore, good or bad. It came out, oh, okay, it's done now? All right, yeah, and that's it. You lose a little bit of an ability to organically grow momentum for your show when you do drop it all at once. Now, look, don't misinterpret me. I'm a fan of dropping an entire season at once because it feeds my binging habits. Absolutely, I'm all for it. But I can understand why right now over at Netflix, there's some serious discussions going on about moving away from that model and going to a week-by-week release schedule to try to build that stuff and have it be more in the pop cultural consciousness for a longer period of time. Then we dropped it, you saw it, done. Now we move on. Like even American Vandal Season 1, right? People talked about it for a couple of weeks, but then there was no more talk about it. And I'm convinced if American Vandal Season 1 had released 1 week after the other, it would have gotten a lot more talk and a lot more buzz and a lot more people chatting about it and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to be surprised if pretty soon we don't see Netflix change models. I really, really do. So we'll see how it all transpires. All right. Abraham Asif writes, better comedy this year, Game Night or Tag? Ooh, Sophie's choice. Better comedy? I'm going to go with Game Night. The overall better movie, I think, was Tag. There was more heart to Tag, and it's a feel-good, it's not just a comedy, it's a feel-good movie, you know what I mean? But as far as just as a comedy, just as pure laughs, I'll go Game Night. But I really like both of these films, and I highly recommend you guys check out both of them if you haven't seen either. But I'll say the better pure comedy is Game Night. Maybe the better overall film may be Tag, though. So what do you guys think? Have you seen both? If so, which one do you prefer? All right. Hayden Burke writes, Sweet Lord Baby Jesus, the writer of The New Lion King, also wrote Speed 2, Rush Hour 3, Indy 4, and Pirates 5. I'm not worried, but a little worried. Shake and bake, John. Yeah, I remember I talked about that. Hold on a second. Let me just bring this up. I talked about that when they first announced the movie, and they first announced like the behind the scenes thing. I remember Guy Ritchie was coming on to do it. I'm very excited Guy Ritchie is doing it. I never would have pegged Guy Ritchie to do a film like this. I really never would have expected that. He also wrote The Nines, and I had problem with The Nines. He did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I did like. He did Big Fish, which I did like. He wrote the original Charlie's Angels, which I did like. Actually, you might be talking about a different director altogether. Hold on a second. Which director? Because I'm looking at John August, who's one of the writers on it. You might be looking at Ron Clements. Hold on a second. Let me just double check here. No, Ron Clements directed Treasure Planet, or wrote Treasure Planet, Hercules. He wrote the original. That's the thing. He wrote the original Aladdin as well. So which guy are we talking about here? Because I remember talking about that a little bit. Actually, no, the only two screenplay guys for this Aladdin Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. Because I'm getting confused. I'm like, wait, no, John August over there. But wait a minute. I know we talked about the writer for this movie. I'm looking up Aladdin. You're talking about Lion King. My bad, guys. My bad. So, yes, the writer for Lion King. I was getting confused. I was like, wait a minute. I know I looked this up. Why is this not lining up for me? Yeah, we're talking about... and he also wrote Tower Heist. I didn't mind Tower Heist. We're talking about a writer by the name of Jeff Nathanson. And he did Tower Heist. I didn't mind that. He wrote Rush Hour 3, and I hated Rush Hour 3. He wrote Steven Spielberg's The Terminal, which some people like, but actually it's the only Steven Spielberg film I don't like. He also wrote Catch Me If You Can. So that's a great... He's done a couple of Spielberg films. So yes, while he's done a couple of clunkers, like Speed 2, and things like that, he's actually done a couple of pretty good ones. So... it's like it's not all doom and gloom there. So clearly they like what they got out of him. So let's see how that all transpires. All right, Adamus95 writes, after the Fox deal, Avengers versus Predator. No, I don't think so. Interesting notion, but no, I don't think so. I don't think the Predator would stand much of a chance against the Avengers. Ben Sultan writes, I think you mean the show I recommend that you should watch is called Ben 10, the original series. It's pretty good, and I hope there would be a feature film one day. Is that not the animated series? Because I thought there was a Ben 10 movie. Yeah, there was a Ben 10. Oh, you're talking about there was a feature film, but I don't know that it got any actual screens. I don't believe it played on any actual screens. It might have just been an incarnation of the show. But yeah, I'll be honest with you. I've never watched the show, obviously, but I've seen trailers for it, and I thought it looked stupid as fuck. But so I'm not interested in Ben 10, but that doesn't mean you're wrong for liking it. I mean, maybe it's great and it works for you. It's all subjective, but I probably won't be checking out Ben 10 anytime soon. I just thought it looked horrible. ZOMG Ruler writes, Venom to me was a funny bad movie like Ed Wood. I wouldn't personally put it in that category. Like, I didn't even think it was all that bad. To me, it was a movie with problems, but I don't consider Venom a bad film. I think it was okay, with some really enjoyable moments and some pretty lackluster moments. But overall, I thought the film was all right. But ZOMG Ruler, you're not alone in that assessment. I know there's some other people that assess it the same way. Ben Sultan writes, why did Disney made and cartoon... You probably mean, why did Disney make a cartoon series for Spider-Man, but don't make a cartoon series for X-Men or Fantastic Four? Because the contract is different between... The contract between Disney and Sony is different than the contract between Disney and Fox. With the contract they had with Sony, they could make animated stuff. With Fox, they can't. So there were different deals, different contracts, so that's why. James Welsh writes, on October 2nd, the European Court imposed, starting from December, 30% of video-on-demand channels' content must be made in Europe. How will this affect Netflix / Amazon Prime? Well, I heard something about this. See, we have something like this in Canada. In Canada, there's a Canadian content rule. At least there was when I still lived there. Maybe they changed it, but I'm pretty sure there still is. So if you're a radio station, a certain percentage of your radio play has to be Canadian artists. If you're a Canadian television network, a certain percentage of your broadcasting has to be Canadian content. It's not like 50%. It's a smaller number, but still they're like, hey, look, if you want to do business in Canada, part of your thing has to be to promote Canadian culture and Canadian art. So a certain percentage of it has to be Canadian, which I think is great. So I'm not surprised that European markets would impose something of the same rule. 30% seems like a high number, but whatever. Well, how will it affect Netflix? Not at all. Because Netflix in Europe is different than Netflix in Canada, which is different than Netflix in the United States. It won't affect what Netflix puts on their own network at all. By the way, Netflix carries a lot of European-produced stuff. And they can just go, okay, then Netflix in Europe will put more European-created content on their Netflix in Europe, but that doesn't mean they have to do that in the United States of America. They can do it differently. So I really don't think we're going to see, if you live in the US, I don't think you're going to see any impact. If you live in a European nation, you'll probably see an increase of some homegrown created stuff, which I don't think is a bad thing. So I don't think it's a bad thing, to be honest with you. I think it's pretty cool. History Soup writes, meant CW crossover is non-continuity elsewhere. I don't know what we're talking about, History Soup. Sorry, dude. Tom Gillard writes, the reason Maul lit up his saber in Solo is it is consistent with his character. He is a show-off. Just look at all the fancy twirling he does in episode 1. No, it's not consistent. You can't tell me that... Now, I like the Maul appearance. I do. I like the fact that... I thought there was a really cool little twist having Darth Maul appear at the end of Solo. But the fact that he's just talking to Kira... And he's just talking to her, turns on his lightsaber on a phone call. Sorry, so you tell me he does that every single phone call? I'm ordering pizza. Extra pepperoni. Like, is that what he does every time he makes a phone call? I don't buy it. I do not buy it. I don't buy it, Tom. I don't buy it. As much as I like Solo and as much as I love Maul. And by the way, our buddy Sam Witwer did the voice of Maul once again. It was Sam Witwer doing the voice of Maul in the movie, and Ray Park physically being Maul again, which was really great. That was great to see, but I do not buy the lighting the lightsaber. I did not buy that at all. Because, you can't convince me that every time he hops on the phone with Kira, how is the weather there today? Like, I don't think he does that. So, I don't buy it, Tom. I don't buy it. Amin Masha Keel writes, favorite/best space film of the past few years? First Man, Passengers, The Martian, Interstellar, or Gravity? I would take Passengers off that list. I wasn't big on Passengers. Gravity's great. Interstellar's really good. First Man is wonderful. I'm going to go The Martian. You know, it's funny you mentioned that because last night, Ray and I got back from the studio and it was late. It was like 9 o'clock. And we just flip on the TV and we're going through YouTube TV and The Martian's on. It's like, oh, and we both of us are like, oh, I love this movie. That movie's so good. I'm going to say The Martian. I know a lot of people will say Gravity. A lot of people might say Interstellar, and they're all great. But The Martian, seriously, every time I watch The Martian, I think it's better every time I see it. Seriously, that movie's magnificent, man. Let's see. Curtis Lopez writes, saw First Man last night, really enjoyed it, especially the shuttle scenes were so well done, so claustrophobic and tense. Absolutely. And there's this one scene in the movie, and they talk about it in the promotional tour, so I'm not giving anything away. But the first time that Ryan Gosling, Neil, blasts off into space in a rocket, they never show you the rocket from the outside. They keep the camera in the cockpit. They keep the camera in the capsule with Neil and his co-pilot dude the whole time. Like traditionally you'd think you'd then go to an outside shot seeing the rocket take off and all. They don't. Damien Chazelle, the director of the film, who also directed Whiplash and La La Land, made this amazing, risky decision to keep the camera and keep the audience in the capsule with these guys. And I'm going to tell you what, it was a gamble, but it's so effective. Because you feel that, like I was freaking out and I'm sitting in the movie theater, like the shaking and the noise and like it feels like you're going to blow up any second and blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. So powerful. By keeping that camera in there. And yes, the entire rest of the movie, whenever you're inside those confined spaces, totally you feel that. You absolutely feel it. It's one of the many good things about that movie. Tom Gillard writes, I found El Royale disappointing. Oh man, sorry to hear that. First Man was good, but needed to be at least 20 minutes shorter. Hey, I don't disagree on the 20 minutes shorter for First Man. I felt it did drag a bit. Look, many movies, 2 hours and 20 minutes is a perfectly good running length. Maybe even a little bit short. I felt for this specific movie, the way it was done, I felt it really could have handled being about 15 minutes shorter. And I think there was some redundant scenes in the movie you probably could have done without. Other than that, it really is a wonderful film. You got to check it out when you get a chance. El Royale, sorry, I was going to run out and see El Royale last night, but again, we were at the studio till like 9 o'clock at night last night, so we didn't really have the chance, which is too bad. But I'm hearing some people not say such great things, so I don't know. I'm still excited to see it. I got to go out of town for the weekend, so I'm not going to get to see it this weekend. I'm thinking Monday I'm going to get a chance to see it, and then we'll see how I feel. Marci Pop writes, where are we? Marci Pop writes, Bradley Cooper should win an Oscar. His voice is amazing. I love the scene with him and Thor. Gotcha. I, of course, mean in A Star is Born. I think his singing in it was good. For an actor who's not a singer, his singing in A Star is Born is very good. Do I think, oh my God, he could stop doing movies and he could do music professionally? I don't think so. I didn't think he was that good, but I thought he was certainly good enough for the movie, and certainly better than me, and probably certainly better than you. But his performance was remarkable. It was remarkable. I don't know that I would give him the win for an Academy Award right now. I definitely think he should be nominated. A little bit iffy if she get a win. I'll think more about the Oscars as we see more of the films that still need to come out between now and the end of December. Curtis Lopez writes, also, Claire Foy was great. Oh, God, she was so good in that movie. The sound design and editing, by the way, top-notch. Music was great. Some parts reminded me a lot of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yes, and that's one of the things that I have criminally overlooked when talking about First Man is its Oscar potential for a lot of technical awards. Because you're right, the sound design of this movie is insane. The sound design in First Man is insane. So I think you're going to see a lot of Oscar winners. And I think Claire Foy is going to get nominated for an Oscar. I believe she should. She was great. She's the emotional heart of this movie. Claire Foy is the emotional heart of this movie. So good in it, and it just makes me look forward to Girl in the Spider's Web even more. Reginald Kelly writes, still mad Fox gave Storm 0 lines in the Dark Phoenix trailer. Why should Storm get lines? It's a trailer. Who cares? Bad enough Fox disrespected Storm in all the X-Men movies. Disney will make her a true goddess in Black Panther 2. Well, number one, Storm is not going to be in Black Panther 2. So just you can write that out right now. You're not going to see Storm in Black Panther 2. Secondly, I say this about actors all the time, but it's also about characters. The purpose of a trailer is not to give respect to any character or to any actor. The purpose of a trailer is to market your film. And if there was nothing that added to the trailer, not the movie, the trailer. We're talking about a trailer. I feel like I'm Allen Iverson talking about practice. Practice? We're talking about practice? Trailer? We're talking about trailer? Respect for a character because she didn't have lines in a trailer? Really? Come on. Come on, Reginald. You're smarter than that. It has nothing to do with respect for the character. Guess what? Quicksilver didn't have any lines. And they love Quicksilver's one of the most popular characters outside of Magneto. Quicksilver's clearly one of the most favorite and popular characters in these new renditions of X-Men films over the past couple of months. Are usually the highlight scenes because they didn't give him any lines in it either. Why? Because it's not about respect. They said them not giving Quicksilver any line in the trailer is in no way, shape, or form a sign of they don't have any respect for that Quicksilver character. Obviously they do. They give him the big highlight scenes in the movie. They obviously do. You don't get him not having a line in the trailer has nothing about the respect of it. And if you want to talk about respect, guess what? There are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of X-Men universe characters who don't even get to be in these movies, and yet they put a Storm character in every single time. Don't tell me they don't have respect. They went out and got an Academy Award-winning actress, Halle Berry, to play the character before. Did they underuse her a little bit in some things? Yeah, but she was always very important and very central to the movies. Don't tell me they don't respect Storm. They didn't respect Storm, they wouldn't keep putting her in the movies. And yet somehow, some way, they always forced to put Storm in there. Even when I didn't believe they needed a Storm character in Apocalypse. I didn't think they needed to put a Storm character in there. But they respect that character so much that even though they didn't really need her, they put her in anyway. So don't give me this, Reginald, they don't respect Storm. Clearly they do. And if a character has a line in a trailer or not, who cares? That says nothing about their respect. Now, if they did their whole marketing campaign and they never even let you see that Storm was in the movies, well, then you might have an argument. For example, Justice League never putting Superman in any of the trailers. If they did that, fine. But they even put her on screen in the first trailer. So, yes, they respect Storm. Do they do a great job with Storm? Have they sometimes not done the best job with the character? Absolutely, they've stumbled on that a couple of times, yes. But they've done that with Cyclops as well. They've done that with other characters as well. I mean, so, no, it's not a respect issue for the character. It's not a respect issue for the character. Marci Pop writes, as a fellow Canadian, just want to say, love the show, John. Thank you so much, Marci. I watch every day. It helps me with my depression. I'm glad the show and I'm glad the fellow film fans here can be here for you, man. You're so funny. My girlfriend thinks you're cute. Well, I mean, obviously. I mean, who wouldn't want some of this? No one? No one? All right. Anyway, we'll move on. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate that, dude. Steve, the mixologist, writes, John, my 10-year-old son wants to be an actor. Woo, dangerous path, man. What suggestions do you have to help him get started? I know it's a long shot, but we got to support our kids. I mean, true. Yes, you do. And you want to support your kids, and that's awesome that you do. Well, seeing as I am such a successful actor, I mean, what do I know about giving him advice for acting? Look, I'll give him the same advice for what he wants to do that I give other people for pursuing different things, which is get busy. If you got a kid that wants to get into acting, tell your kid to get busy. You know, find out what school productions are going on. If there are no school productions going on, find out which teacher you got to talk to about getting a school production going on. And if that still doesn't work, find out what community stuff there's going on. Does your local theater need little unnamed kid who doesn't have any lines number 5 in their community production? Get your kid involved in that. Just get little steps, little things. So yeah, it's what I would tell anybody with whatever profession they really want to go. Get busy. Don't sit around. Don't wait. Go get busy. Keep life balanced, but go get busy. So that would be the best advice that I would have to offer. Maybe a real actor would have better advice to offer, but that's what I have to offer. Chris Miner writes, better soundtrack, Lion King or Moana? Good luck. Ooh, that's, look, I love the Moana soundtrack. I'll tell you what. I still cannot listen to that main song, How Far I'll Go. I still can't listen to that song and not get choked up and a little teary-eyed whenever she gets to the line, and it's repeated a couple times in the song. There's a line where the sky meets the sea. It calls me. I kid you not, hair standing up on my arms just reciting the line. There's a line where the sky meets the sea, and it calls me. I want to cry. That's so beautiful. That is one of the best lines in any song ever, soundtrack or not. And of course, You're Welcome, like great songs, but you gotta go Lion King. You have to go Lion King, right? I mean, I don't see how you'd not do Lion King. Just can't wait to be king. Hakuna Matata. Be prepared. I mean, I can't not give it to Lion King. Although, man, that Moana soundtrack, I love it. I love that Moana soundtrack. Let's see. Mike Thompson writes, Frank Welker back as the Cave of Wonders voice. Really? I didn't know that. If that's true, that's awesome. I had no idea about that. Thanks for pointing that out, man. That's a really cool bit of information to have. The other black guy writes, better directorial debut, Krasinski or Cooper? I will go Krasinski. Because, look, first of all, both of them, fabulous directorial debuts. Fabulous directorial debuts for both of them. But Krasinski did more with less, in my opinion. Krasinski, I mean, will you consider how good Quiet Place is? And a lot of the movie, he's got to tell his story without dialogue, without words, sometimes without sound. And he manages to tell a riveting, thrilling, compelling narrative even without that. It's amazing. To me, A Quiet Place is still the best movie of the year. Right now. For now. I've seen A Star is Born. I've seen First Man. And as of right now, for me, A Quiet Place is still the best movie of the year. And on that basis, I give the nod to Krasinski. I'll give the nod to Krasinski right now. George Costanza writes, "Sweet Fancy Moses, that Aladdin trailer." Hey, look, again, it all depends on what you were expecting. If you were expecting a full trailer, you walked away disappointed. If you took it as just an announcement trailer, hearing those little musical notes of Arabian Nights and Friend Like Me and seeing the cave, it brought you a rush of excitement just as an announcement. But again, and it's fair, if you were looking for a legit first trailer, you were hoping to get your first look at the genie, you were hoping to get your first look at Jasmine, you were hoping to get your first look at the carpet, then you probably walked away a little disappointed, and that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, I got a kick out of it. I did. I got a big kick out of it. Patrick Conway writes, "A friend of mine refuses to be interested in Black Widow if it's PG-13. That's ridiculous. He thinks a spy assassin movie should only be R. Again, that's ridiculous. Mission Impossible Fallout was his favorite movie. I don't even know what Mission Impossible Fallout was rated. Fallout MPAA rating. What was it? Ask him that then. Fallout, I thought it was PG-13. If Mission Impossible Fallout is his favorite movie, and that is a spy movie, and it's PG-13, ask him why that can be a PG-13, but a Black Widow can't. That's a ridiculous thing. That's a totally ridiculous thing. Go talk some sense into your friend, Patrick. Andrew Christie writes, "I grew up with Robin Williams as the genie and Pan, so I'm very curious to see Will Smith's take on the role. I think he's a great choice." Yeah, look, what I like about the Will Smith choice, and there are drawbacks to it, but what I like about the Will Smith choice is this. He has a level of charisma and just pure, unbridled extrovertedness of a Robin Williams, but at the same time, he is nothing like Robin Williams. You know what I'm saying? And I thought out of anything, like when they were first talking about doing a live action Aladdin and we were first having our discussions about who should play the genie, I remember for me, the only thing is this: do not get somebody to just do a Robin Williams impersonation, because that's going to kill your movie. Because nobody is Robin Williams. There is no replacing Robin Williams. There's no trying to fill in the shoes of Robin Williams. It's pointless. There's no point in trying. Get somebody with a lot of energy and a lot of charisma, but that is very different and does their own genie with the same level of power, the same level of enthusiasm, but at the same time completely different in every other way. And when they announced Will Smith, that struck very true with me. That's why when some people were going, Will Smith, the reason I reacted very positively to it was because I had already been talking about get somebody with that kind of charisma, but at the same time is a very, very different type of person that will do it very differently. And when they said Will Smith, to me, it was like, bingo. I mean, that's it. Will Smith has a larger-than-life charisma and extrovertedness and all that kind of, and a fearlessness about just going for it, like a Robin Williams, but he ain't going to mimic Robin Williams. He isn't going to try to be Robin Williams. He's going to be Will Smith doing the genie. He's not going to be Will Smith playing Robin Williams playing the genie. You know what I mean? And on that level, I think it was a very good choice. Was it the perfect choice? Maybe not, but I think it was a good choice. And we'll see how he does. And all I'm doing now is keeping my fingers crossed that they do resist the urge to try to get Will Smith to do a Robin Williams impersonation. Say some of the same lines, use the classic lines, yes, but do it as Will Smith doing the genie. Don't do it as Will Smith doing Robin Williams doing the genie. You know what I mean? And if they can do that, I think they'll be okay. If they try to just be Robin Williams, they're going to fall flat on their face because there is no being Robin Williams. So let's see how they do. All right. Santez Hernandez writes, loved First Man, me too. That one scene on the moon was emotional and that landing was riveting. Neil was a stoic person. I looked into it. Gosling was good. Here's the thing that people don't get. My one complaint about First Man, and I love the movie, all right? Make no mistake. Don't misinterpret me. Don't misquote me. I love the movie. But my one problem with it was that even though, Neil Armstrong was known to be a little more stoic, yes. To me, Damien Chazelle, the director, and Ryan Gosling, the actor, who I love, good Canadian kid, made a choice to really take out any emotion out of the character, except for one or two scenes that were very well played. But he was so emotionless mostly through the film that I thought it went beyond even Neil Armstrong. Because here's the thing, and here's the perfect example of that. In the scene in the movie where you hear Neil is now on the moon and he's talking to Houston, his voice is so much more, there's so much more personality and life in his voice when he's talking to Houston. Blah, 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 blah. But at every other time in the movie, at every other time in the movie, it's just flat, flat, flat. And all of a sudden, then, he's recreating the conversation he had with Houston. And there was so much more personality and so much more life in it that it almost felt jarring to go from his conversation with Houston to then everything else in the movie. That conversation showed he had a little bit more life than that. And even if he didn't, you got to put a little bit more life into it for the sake of the screen. So my one complaint was not the performance of Ryan Gosling, but rather the creative decision that Damien Chazelle, the director, and Ryan Gosling as the actor, the creative decision they made together to really desaturate any life or personality out of the character. And I wish they had given him a little bit more. Because again, when that scene comes, when he's on the moon, he's given this one small step for man, and he does that speech, it's so out of character with everything else in the movie and the way he's portrayed in the rest of the movie, it's jarring. And I think that one shot proves they should have given a little bit more life, not desaturated the personality so much. So that still remains my one critique of the film. And the film is still great. And the film is wonderful. And I highly encourage everybody to go and see it. I had a great time watching this movie. But that is my one complaint. That and it was a little bit too long, but that's my one big complaint. Ben Rayner writes, it's going to be a new genie, and it should be. Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what I'm saying. You can't try to recreate the Robin Williams genie. You can't do it. You got to make it a new genie, and you got to let Will Smith go for it, and let's see if it works. Justin T. writes, Episode 9, Palpatine and Windu Force Ghost battle. That's an interesting idea. Andrew Christie writes, speaking of which, John, like you, I have a real soft spot for Hook. I love Hook. Bangarang. It was the first movie I remember seeing at the movies. I was 4, pure gold nostalgia. It's a special movie, man. Like, lots of movies that I like that I understand why people don't. But Hook is one of those movies that I just don't get why so many people don't like it. I love that movie, man. I love it. Stubble McShave writes, I watched some old Clint Eastwood movies and came across Where Eagles Dare. Oh, that was pretty good. With Richard Burton. It's kind of a forgotten gem. I really enjoyed it. You know what Clint Eastwood movie to me is a forgotten gem? And not everybody loved it at the time. And I saw it when I was really young. I think I was like 9 or something. But then I watched it again when I was like 14 or 15. It's another Clint Eastwood movie called Firefox. And I wouldn't blame you if a lot of you have never even heard of it. But Firefox is this movie where Clint Eastwood's an American spy, and he has to get into Russia, into the Soviet Union, because the Soviet Union have developed a fighter jet that is quicker and more responsive than any American jet because it runs on your thoughts. So the pilot sits in the cockpit and wears his helmet, and he just thinks about what he wants the plane to do, and the plane does it. So that type of reaction time makes it an unbeatable air war machine, right? So he gets in there, and I remember he gets in the plane and goes, I can't make it work. And they're like, no, you got to think in Russian. And then he starts thinking in Russian, and then the plane starts. It's a great like spy thriller, whatever. And it wasn't ever that well received. And It's not even remembered by a lot of people, but my little hidden gem Clint Eastwood film that I think is underrated is Firefox. If you get a chance, check it out. Owen Tucci writes, hey, John, random thought, but Jurassic Park 3 is criminally underrated. It's a fun, tense action movie. Spinosaurus is a great villain. Your thoughts? I don't know. I remember not disliking the movie. At least certainly not to the degree that a lot of other people did. So I'll go out and say I believe it's a little bit underrated. I don't know that I myself would say it's criminally underrated. I don't know that this Spinosaurus was a great villain. To me, it had its problems. But, so I won't go as far as you, Owen, but I will say that, like you, I think I liked the movie a little bit better than most people did. But me personally, not all that much. But that's the beautiful thing about movies, man. They're all subjective. We all have different experiences with them, and I'm glad you like it that much. Stubble McShave writes, who's your favorite? Jason Isaacs? Oh, I love Jason Isaacs. John Rhys Davies, he's really good. Or David Morse. I'm going to go David Morse. David Morse, I think, maybe all time, is one of the most criminally underrated actors of certainly our era, maybe of all time. You put David Morse in anything, he will elevate it. You put David Morse in anything, and he will elevate it. I don't care if it's The Rock. I don't care if it's whatever. I love this dude. And it'll always be to me one of the big shames, crying shames of Hollywood that David Morse never really cracked through to become an A-list leading man. A very successful career being a character actor, very successful career, but I just think this dude's acting chops are off the scale. Like, I just think he's so good. So yeah, I'm going to go David Morse. Tyler Yeats writes, can't decide between A Star Is Born and First Man for Tomorrow. Tough one. It's a bit of a coin toss. I would suggest A Star Is Born. I like both of these films very much. And the real answer is here, there's no wrong answer. But I would say go for A Star Is Born. I'm Upset writes, worst rock movie, Tooth Fairy, Scorpion King, Race to Witch Mountain, or Game Plan. You know what? I didn't hate Game Plan. I'm going to admit to you right now, I did not hate Game Plan. I thought Game Plan was charming. Man, I'm going to go Tooth Fairy. Look, there's bad stuff about Scorpion King, Race to Witch Mountain, although I know some people that love that movie, but to me, I wouldn't say for any of them that I'm embarrassed for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson watching them, except for Tooth Fairy. Tooth Fairy, I am embarrassed for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson when I watch that movie. I mean, it's that bad for me. And maybe you don't feel the same way about that, and that's fine. But for me, you know what the funny thing is? A friend of mine, Chuck Norris, who I mention once in a while, and yes, that's his real name is Chuck Norris. He's the guy, he's a friend of mine, and he's an editor, and he edited my film, The Anniversary, for me, and he's great. But one of the first big gigs he got directing was my buddy Chuck Norris directed Tooth Fairy 2 with Larry the Cable Guy taking over the lead role from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I think it was straight to video, but anyway, my buddy Chuck Norris, who edited my movie, his first bigger production was Tooth Fairy 2, which I always kind of giggle about. I'm Upset writes, oh no, that was I'm Upset. Casinema Reviews writes, the Doctor Who season premiere was a better Predator movie than the new Predator movie. P.S. My name is pronounced K Cinema. Good to know, K Cinema. Yeah, I'm hearing good things. I'm hearing good things about this new Doctor Who, and I am not a Doctor Who fan. I don't watch Doctor Who, but I've been convinced by you guys to get on board and give this season a shot because they're telling me it's very much a standalone season. You don't need to know all the previous stuff, and you can jump on board with it. So I'm going to give this thing a shot. I'm hearing many good things about it, K-Cinema. Rami J. Royster writes, if you like the Lord of the Rings saga, then I highly suggest you play Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War on PC. You know what? I've had a lot of people tell me to get on those games, Rami. And right now, I'm now done with World of Warcraft. But I want to get my play-in chats up and running again. Maybe at least once or twice a week when I'm home at night, just jump on and do a play-in chat. So I'm trying to decide. Actually, I was laying in bed last night going through like best PC games right now, trying to pick a game to play. I was thinking about doing Fortnite, but I suck so badly at it. I don't want anybody to see me playing Fortnite because I'm really bad. But I'm trying to pick another game, and one of those Middle-earth games are on my list. But I mean, both the Middle-earth games, so it could end up being one of those Middle-earth games. We'll have to wait and see. Kyle Macero writes, any general advice for young aspiring filmmakers? Yeah, just do it. Stay busy. It's the same advice I give people who say, how do I get started if I want to be a film journalist? Well, start a movie blog, start a podcast, and then do it. Write. Even if you don't know what to write anyway. Even if it's garbage, keep writing, just keep doing. You want to be a filmmaker? Start making short films. Every single day, make a little short film. Take your camera if you have to. Shoot something. Tell a little story. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad or crap or the worst thing ever. It doesn't matter. Just start moving. Keep busy. Make your own opportunities. And do something every day that gets you to where you want to go. Here's what I found, honestly, though. With a lot of people who ask me advice about getting started in film punditry or filmmaking or anything like that, nobody will admit they're lazy. But what I find is the biggest obstacle to a lot of people achieving what they want to achieve is laziness. Yeah, you got to have the gifts and you got to have talent. You got to have the drive. You got to have some luck. You got to have some opportunity. All that stuff is true. But what I have honestly found more times than not, more examples of this than anything else, is what it comes down to is laziness. Laziness is a massive human problem. And, I look at people like who do stuff on YouTube and it's like they clearly don't put any effort into what they do. They either don't do anything or they clearly don't put any real effort into it. People who ask, what can I get away with? Or how little can I do? Or how can I reduce the amount of effort I put into it? People who ask that question generally will not get very far. There are exceptions, but the exceptions are rare. Don't be lazy. Do something every day. Even if it feels like it's a meaningless something, do something every day that gets you closer towards your goal. And if that means pulling out a microphone windscreen and making a movie with your phone about this microphone windscreen, going on an adventure, traveling from your bathroom to your bedroom, then shoot that movie. Go shoot that 5-minute movie. Edit it. Add some sound effects. Just do something that every day makes you a little bit better. And don't be lazy. That's the best advice I have. Ben Rayner writes, I really like that announcement trailer. Yeah, and it was, right, Ben? It was very much an announcement trailer for Aladdin. And again, if you were expecting something else, I understand why you're disappointed. But if you understood what it was, I think it made you a little bit excited. Der Wunderbar writes, saw the Aladdin teaser. I still wonder if Genie will be CG. I honestly don't know. I hear conflicting things. And honestly, I don't dig into it. I haven't dug into it to try to find out the answer. I'm happy just to find out. It's probably going to be a combination of things. I'm guessing it's going to be a combination of things, but we'll have to wait and see. Rami J. Royster. Hey guys, I'm already overtime here, so I'm going to fly through these last number of ones just because I want to get to all your questions. I'm just going to go pretty quick here. Rami J. Royster writes, I really like Disney's Hercules 1990s. I think it's a little underrated. I don't think enough people talk about that Hercules movie. Mostly due to James Woods' portrayal of Hades. He was great in it. Funny and serious with awesome energy, and much like what Robin Williams did with the Genie. What are your thoughts? It is a darker film than you would think. Like when you're dealing with James Woods' Hades was great, and I really do enjoy the film. It's not like in my top 5 Disney animated films. It's not up there, but I do believe it is an underappreciated film. And there's some pretty good little music in it as well. But yes, the standout to me is James Woods' Hades. And it's got some darker stuff. Well, first of all, you're talking about the Lord of Hades is in your movie. That's a little darker than Disney will normally go with something like this. But yeah, Rami, I'm with you. I enjoy that movie. I'll watch it like once every couple of years. I'll watch it if I'm at home or something like that. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of an underrated one. Santez Hernandez writes, you won't let Warner Brothers treatment of Superman go. Well, I mean, when it comes up, I will address it. Yes, when it comes up and it's applicable to the conversation, I will address it if it's applicable. So I don't think I should just ignore it. So yes, Santez. Syrian Douglas writes, thoughts on a L/A Pocahontas from Disney. I don't know what L/A is. There's not much buzz for the OG, so I don't see it happening soon, but I think it could be spectacular. If you're talking live action, here's the one road bump with the live action aspect. So many movies like Avatar, Dances with Wolves, on and on are already kind of that same movie. Avatar is Pocahontas. It is. Avatar is Pocahontas. Beat for beat, it is. And it's also Dances with Wolves, beat for beat. And Dances with Wolves is much like Pocahontas, beat for beat. That's the one thing that presents a bit of a challenge. But I do think you're right. I think there's potential there for it to be a really good live action motion picture. So whether they'll do it, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It might just be too similar to some of these other big movies that ultimately really ripped them off, but we'll have to wait and see. Where do we go here? Oh gosh, big jump. I'm not going to get through all the questions today. There's no way. Let's see. Yep, that's not going to happen. Anyway, Drew writes, saw Destination Wedding, pretty enjoyable. You know what's funny? I actually got this like random text message from Mark Ellis. It's just a couple of weeks ago. Mark sends me this random text message that was like out of nowhere. Dude, Destination Wedding, totally worth it. Like it was just kind of like out of nowhere, right? So it's interesting. I should check this out because I'm hearing some pretty good things about it, so I should check that thing out. All right, last question of the day, guys, comes to us from Seth Harrell, who writes, as a massive Queen fan, I'm really excited for Bohemian Rhapsody in November, but the trailers have not shown much in regards to Freddie's illness. Something unfortunate, but necessary to the story of the band. Look, Seth, why does that need to be in the trailer? Does it need to be a part of the movie? Sure. Does it need to be part of the trailer? Practice? We're talking about practice? Practice? The trailer? I mean, look, who cares? Look, it all depends, too, on what is the scope of the movie. A lot of these biopics only tell a certain window of time in the story of a life. Like, it's not from cradle to the grave life story. It's oftentimes a very fixed, like in this 3-year period. There was a Steve Jobs movie that just took place in a very set period of time, right? So maybe the movie does or doesn't get into his illness. But even if it does get into his illness, I don't see why that needs to be a part of the marketing. I'm not sure how that would sell the movie. You sell this movie, I think the best way to sell this movie is to highlight the nostalgia, the music, the power of the music, the wild personality of Freddie Mercury, the cultural impact of Queen. That's what you use to sell the movie. So the illness of Freddie could be a very significant part of the film. I'm sure it won't have anything to do with Act 1 of the movie. I'm sure it won't have anything to do with Act 2 of the movie. And I'm sure it probably comes up somewhere in Act 3. But I don't see why you would need to put that in the trailer. Everybody knows how Freddie Mercury died, right? And I don't think it's selling. Now, you could say, well, John, they showed the Titanic sinking in the Titanic trailer. Yeah, because that sells the film. The giant boat sinking, like this giant, massive, visual thing of this giant boat sinking and breaking apart. Yeah, that sells the film. I don't think showing an ill Freddie Mercury laying in a bed, I don't see how that sells the film. And it doesn't take away from the importance of it in the story. The trailers are not there to serve any element of the movie. The trailers are there to sell the movie. So, I agree with you. I noticed that they don't go into any of that in the trailers, but I never once as an audience member felt that you needed to go into that in the trailer. It's probably something that's confined to the third act of the film, maybe even the second half of the third act of the film, and is maybe something too you don't want to give away about how they deal with it. So for me personally, I love the trailers. I thought they did a great job to get people hyped up to see the movie. They got me excited to see the movie. Clearly, we talked about it off the top about it's on target right now to become the second largest opening weekend for any musical biopic in Hollywood history. So clearly it's doing something right. I just don't think that you need to show all the story beats in the trailer, right? And it's kind of funny too, Seth, because we're in an era right now where people keep saying, stop showing us so much in trailers, but then they don't show us a certain something. It's like, why don't you show us Storm speaking. Why aren't you showing us Freddy being sick? So we, on one hand, we always say, show us less in trailers, but then when they don't show us a certain something, we're going, why aren't you showing us this in the trailer? That's just kind of what we do as film fans, right? We do that all the time. So yeah, I wouldn't read anything into that, Seth. And I honestly think from a marketing point of view, I think it was the correct decision to not include that in the trailers because the trailers are doing a great job selling the movie. Anyway, that's just kind of my thoughts on that. All right, guys. Everybody from David Bett, Sarhad, and Randy Lando all the way down. Don't you worry about it, guys. I'm going to save your questions. I'm going to get them put onto our list of companion video questions that need to be addressed, and we will get to your questions in an upcoming companion video. I think I'm going to knock out a companion video or two on Sunday. By the way, I think I'm going to do an open mic on Sunday evening as well. I haven't done an open mic in a week or two now. I'm going to do an open mic on Sunday, probably Sunday evening. Pay close attention to my Twitter feed. I'll let you guys know exactly when I'm going to do that. All right, guys. That will do it for me for this installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here. Again, guys, I hope you had a dominating week where you just took life and made it your pony and you owned it and it's yours. And now you're going into a well-deserved resting weekend. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, safe weekend. I, of course, will be back. Again, we're going to have some companion videos coming up this weekend as well as an open mic this weekend. Maybe I'll even get a new video game picked. I don't know. I need a new video game. And then, of course, the John Campea Show will be back again on Monday. All right, guys, dudes, thanks so much for being here. You have no idea how awesome it is knowing that you guys choose to make hanging out with me and the other film fans here as a part of your day. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. My name's John Campea, and until our next video, bye-bye.